Now, let's look at 8.3 in the Ross textbook. We come to monosyllabic nouns. When we make these plural, they will also do some fun things, okay? What is a monosyllabic noun? It's a one-syllable noun. And monosyllabic nouns, you've learned a monosyllabic noun. You've learned the word Seuss, haven't you? The word Seuss as a monosyllabic noun looks like this. What if I want to make it plural? We just did this on our chapter 7 quiz, didn't we? That's one syllable. It's a monosyllabic noun. Is that somic closing the syllable? It is. So I can't divide this anymore, can I? And this is tonic, just the way it is, and closed. When I add eam to make it horses, what's going to happen here? The somic's going to go hang out with the Keurig yod. If I were to divide this, this would now be tonic. This would be no longer closed but open, and no longer tonic but pretonic. Now, you have an old preacher sermons are long rule that says open pretonic syllables require a long vowel. Is this shuric long? Yea, verily, yea. It's historically long, isn't it? And so we divide it and nothing else has to change. There's no change needed. It's already long. And even if I wanted to change it, it's unchangeably long. Okay? Now, there is something fun that happens with these monosyllabic nouns. When they are monosyllabic and if they have a changeable vowel, something interesting will occur. Let's take the word okay? This is Chris's last name, Nation. Is that a one-syllable word? Yes. Is that vowel changeable? Yes. It is. So what's going to happen here is in Hebrew, there is this little black helicopter flying around that has a dagesh forte hanging off of the rope. And it's looking for monosyllabic nouns. And as soon as it finds one, it says, hey, as soon as I add a vocalic ending to this, I'm going to drop a dagesh forte in here. Okay? There is a hovering dagesh forte. You can't see these black helicopters. So let's see what happens. When I add eam to the dagesh forte is going to drop in, and guess what's going to happen? This is now going to become a closed syllable. Becomes amim with the dagesh forte in the mem. You can't see it here, but it drops in here when I add eam. Amim. Anytime I have a dagesh forte, I have a closed syllable to the right. And because the mem ends the syllable, I have a closed syllable to the left. Tone is on the final syllable. That means this is pretonic, but it's not open. It's closed. What's the cuss rule say? Closed, unaccented syllables require a short vowel. You see the pathak here? Is that short? Yes. So there's no change needed. This is not open in pretonic. It's not open in propertonic. It's not open at all. So there's no vocal shava reduction, nothing like that. It's just making sure it follows the cuss rule. So the plural of is amim with the dagesh forte in that final consonant. Real quickly, just look at this word, hok. This is the word for statute, singular. If I want to make it plural, what am I going to add to hok? I'm going to add eam. Is hok a one-syllable noun? Yeah. Is this a changeable vowel? Yes, because it's not a historically long vowel. So what's going to drop into this kof right here? Yes, dagesh forte. My little Hebrew helicopter is going to drop in that dagesh forte. And now I'm going to have a closed syllable, and the tone's going to be over here. So this is pretonic, which means it's unaccented. The cuss rule tells me this has to be short. Is holum short? It's not short. Holum is a long vowel. So I'm going to have to change that long vowel to a short vowel. And the short vowel this becomes is actually the kibbutz. So hok becomes hukim. Hukim. And that's statutes. Hukim. All right? So we're going to learn in the next chapter how holum and kibbutz and kametz ketuf are all related to each other. The holum here, when it reduces to a short vowel, can reduce to a kibbutz. All right? Now let's take a look at a couple more examples of this. Let's take the word for evil, which is the Hebrew word ra. It means evil or wicked. Now ra is a monosyllabic noun, isn't it? It's a one-syllable word. It's actually not a noun, it's an adjective, but it's monosyllabic. And the vowel here is pathak. Is pathak changeable? The answer is yes. So it's a monosyllabic word and it has a changeable vowel. So there is a dagesh forte here that wants to drop in as soon as we add endings. Well, the word ra, referring to evil as an adjective, it could be used to modify a feminine singular thing. So let's see what we would do if we wanted to make this feminine singular, because ra is masculine singular here. If I wanted to add a comet hey to this word, what would happen? Now that I'm adding an ending, the dagesh forte is going to want to drop inside here, and I would want to put it right there. Now here's the problem. Ayin cannot take a dagesh forte. Why? Because ayin is a guttural. So if I have a guttural where I need a dagesh forte to drop in because my black Hebrew helicopter wants to drop one in there, it's going to reject the dagesh forte. So gutturals don't take no dagesh forte from anyone. Ayin is one of those consonants where, when the dagesh forte is rejected, the preceding short vowel will compensatorily lengthen. So ra with a short pathak becomes ra'ah with a long kametz due to the loss of dagesh forte. And this would happen no matter what vocalic ending I'm adding for the gender and number inflection. So ra'im, I would put im here. I'd lose the dagesh forte, still get the long A, and ra'ot for feminine plural would do the same thing. Now let's take a look at the word for brother, which is the Hebrew word ach. Ach. That's sort of like what you might say if you were referring to your brother in Hebrew, right? Most brothers don't get along. Ach, there's my brother. Anyhow, so ach looks like this. That's monosyllabic, and the vowel is changeable because it's not a historically long vowel. So what if I wanted to say brothers, plural? What would I do? Well, I would add kirik yod mem to make that masculine plural, and then a dagesh forte is going to want to drop in there, right? Can I put a dagesh forte inside the chet like this? And the answer is definitely not. Dagesh fortes do not go in guttural consonants. So we're going to reject the dagesh forte here. And what about chet? Is chet one of those consonants that when it rejects the dagesh forte, will it cause the preceding short vowel to lengthen compensatorily? And the answer is no. Chet and hey are among those consonants which undergo what's called implied doubling. And when the doubling is implied or virtual, we're treating this as a closed syllable. If I were to divide this into syllables, I would reach in and act like I'm grabbing a dagesh forte, but as you know, I can't put one there. But the chet is treated as if it were doubled, and this is a closed, unaccented syllable, so the short pathak gets to stay because cuss syllables require a short vowel. So, to just slide over here, these are the two sorts of things that can happen when a guttural rejects a dagesh forte. Ayin, aleph, resh will cause compensatory lengthening in the preceding short vowel. Hey and chet are the gutturals that undergo implied doubling, and so we don't have to compensatorily lengthen this at all. Okay? If I were to divide ra'ah, for example, I'd have my dividing line here. There's no closed syllable. It's open and pretonic, and open pretonic syllables require a long vowel. So these are both following the syllable rules. Okay? Old preacher sermons are long. This is why I get compensatory lengthening. In this case, a cuss syllable, it results from virtual doubling, and so I don't have to lengthen compensatorily. So those are the situations there. Now let's go to Ras 8.4. And by the way, I just remembered I had jotted down a transliteration of achim, where if I were transliterating this with the virtual doubling, I would have the aleph, the short a, the double chet, the kirik yod, and the mem here. So you see that there's this virtual doubling going on. Achim. All right, let's look at 8.4. 8.4. In Ross 8.4, we meet another preposition called the preposition men. And I've got it spelled for you here, mem, kirik, nun, men. And the meaning of men is from or away from. From or away from. Now, men is an interesting preposition, and I want to teach you not just what it means, but how you will see it occur in biblical Hebrew. There's really two ways to write the preposition men with the object of the preposition men, the thing that the men goes with, from the house, from the man, from a car, and so forth. The first way to do it is what I like to call the sissy way. The sissy way. And the sissy way of writing the preposition men is just to take the word that's the object of the preposition and put the word men in front of the word and then use a makaf to join it. Now, I call this the sissy way because there isn't anything weird or odd that happens here, except that you're adding the makaf at this point. So you put the men preposition, a makaf, which then indicates that the men will not be stressed, and then the stress will only be on the noun or the verb or verbal form, whatever it is that you're attaching this to. Usually it's going to be a noun. You could attach this to participles and other things, but usually nouns here. All right? So we take the word hamelech, which means the king. Got the article here. And I want to say from the king. What am I going to do if I want to attach the preposition in the sissy way? I'm going to write the word men right here, and I'm going to use the makaf. And now we have min hamelech. Min hamelech. From the king. Preposition is men. Hamelech is the object of the preposition. Now, that's the easy way to do it. And by the way, adding the men plus the makaf is something that you've already seen. We have noticed that some of the prepositions we've learned are attached inseparably, like the prepositions bet, lamed, and kaf. But then we also learned the prepositions all and el. All meaning over, above. El means to or toward. When I want to add a preposition before a noun, that will be separated. The preposition will go first, and then a makaf will separate the object of the preposition from the preposition itself. So all habayit would be on the house. El habayit would be to the house. So we've already seen that. So that's the sissy way of attaching the men preposition to its object of the preposition. There is a second way to do it, and I like to refer to this as the Marine Corps way. The Marine Corps way is obviously the harder way to do it. This is really the manly way to do it. These macho men. Okay? So Marine Corps way is to take the word that's the object of the preposition. So here we have the word a king. And if I want to say from a king, I will add the men, not with the makaf, but rather I'm going to add it inseparably bound to the word. So what it would look like is it would be min melech as if it were all one word. Now notice that I've got a silent shava under the nun because the nun is closing the syllable and butting up against another consonant that starts a new syllable. Min melech. Every consonant in a Hebrew word would have a vowel or a shava symbol under it. That's required of all consonants except the final one. Now it doesn't stop here though. Once I have min melech like this, one other thing happens, and this is a phonetic change. A phonetic change is a change in the sounds based on a language's sound patterns. And here, whenever my nun is closing a syllable, as I have here, this is closed, and at the same time the noun is butting up against another consonant, this noun will undergo a process known as assimilation. What is assimilation? Assimilation is becoming like another consonant. Okay? Assimilation is becoming like another consonant. I like to refer to this as the Borg problem. If you've ever watched any of the old Star Trek shows, there was a group there was a race out there called the Borg, and they would go up to a civilization and they would assess whether it was worthy of being taken over. And rather than coming in and destroying it, they would assimilate it into their own culture. And this civilization would be made like the Borg. So the people would become Borg drones, and they would announce as they came to a planet or a civilization, they would say, "We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile." Well, whenever we have a noun in a situation like this, where it's closing a syllable and butting up against another consonant within the word, the noun is going to assimilate. Now, what will it assimilate to? What will it become? It will become a copy of the consonant that it's right beside. So in this case, it will become a copy of the MAME. So the noun assimilates to the following consonant, and it becomes MAME. And then there's one other thing that happens. Whenever I have the same consonant closing a syllable and opening a new one, Hebrew deals with that by doing what? By writing that one consonant twice, writing the two consonants once and putting a dagesh forte there. So that's what we're going to see happen. This will become a MAME with a dagesh forte. So min melek becomes mim melek becomes mimelek with the dagesh forte here. Okay? So that is what I call the Marine Corps way. Obviously, it's a lot harder. Mim melek. What's going on here now is that this dagesh forte represents the assimilated noun right here. Okay? So the dagesh forte equals the noun of min. Let's look at another example here. Let's take the word sus. Sus is the word for horse. If I want to say from a horse, the easy way, the sissy way, is just to write it like this, min sus, and use the makaf. But if I want to do it the Marine Corps way, I cannot do it this way. I got to attach it inseparably to the consonant, to the word, and it's going to be min sus. The noun will assimilate to the samic, and so now I will have to have a second samic here. Min samic becomes mis samic, and now the two samics will be written one time, and instead of the two samics, I'll have one samic and a dagesh forte there. So from a horse would be mis samic. So this dagesh forte represents the noun of min in that word. Okay? So mis sus, not misamic, mis sus, from a horse. Next one. Now, without having to write these all over again, what do you think is going to happen with nahar, a river? If I want to say from a river, and I want to do it the Marine Corps way, I'm going to write my mi of min, and then just go ahead and put the dagesh forte in there. That dagesh forte represents the noun of min. Min nahar, from a river. And then finally, I have ish. And I want to say from a man. What would I want to do here? Well, would put my MAME here. I should put my dagesh forte in the aleph. Will the aleph accept the dagesh forte? The answer is absolutely not. It's a guttural, and gutturals don't take no dogish forte from anyone. So it will reject that dogish forte, and when the dogish forte is rejected, the preceding Keurig is going to lengthen compensatorily to make up for the loss of dogish forte. And in this case, I'm going to get a sere. Okay, so that is compensatory lengthening. I get a sere here. All right, so Keurig becomes sere due to compensatory lengthening. May-ish, from a man. Now, I've been calling this the Marine Corps way of doing it, so my little joke over here is since the Marine Corps does it this way, using assimilation, we could say, where have all the good men gone? Because, as you know, one of the great Marine Corps advertisements over the years has been, we're looking for a few good men. And there is a famous movie with Tom Cruise in it called A Few Good Men, where you have Marines who are on trial for killing someone. So there you go. I always like puns. So where have all the good men gone? Well, they've joined the Marine Corps. Now over here, let's take a look at one more situation. I have the word ha-melech, the king, and I want to say from the king. What will happen here? Well, if I want to do this the Marine Corps way, I'm going to add my mem, the Keurig of men, and then I should put the dogish forte in the hey, which represents the noon of men. But again, hey is a guttural consonant. Hey is going to reject that dogish forte, so I will not see it. And in this case, again, the Keurig will compensatorily lengthen to a sere. So that's what happens here. So it ends up looking like this. May ha melech. May ha melech. Okay, from the king. You'll notice here that the article hey is not swallowed by the men preposition. The bet, kaf, lamed, those will swallow the hey. Men does not swallow hey. So the hey will stay put here. So may ha melech, from the king. Now, I'll go ahead and mention one final situation that Ross mentions, although this does not happen very commonly. But if you take a word like Yehudah, remember this is the Hebrew word for Judah, Yehudah, and let's say I want to say from Judah, using the Marine Corps way, it would look like this. Me, put a doubling dot in the yod. Mi Yehudah. Now, what will happen here? If you remember, we have the squinum levi letters, squinum levi, yod, vav, lamed, mem, nun, kof, and the S stands for sibilants. These are the consonants that are fricatives. They hiss, so samic and sin. Those are sibilant sadi. Whenever I have a dogish forte inside one of these squinum levi letters and a vocal shava under it, the dogish forte will often fall out. So what happens here is mi Yehudah will, because yod is a squinum levi letter, will lose the dogish forte. The shava then becomes silent, and then in that situation, the yod quiesces, and the old Hebrew love story kicks in, where this Keurig and this yod, their eyes reunite as long-lost lovers and say, hey, let's be a thing together again. And when the yod quiesces, it will lose its consonantal value, the shava will drop out, and now I have Mihudah, from Judah. Okay, so that is something that can happen, and it happens due to the squinum levi letters losing that dogish forte, and then the yod quiescing, and this returning to its Keurig yod here, Mihudah. All right.